I'm down to dunk.
And I'm down to dunk.
I'm down to dunk.
This is J-Dub, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Lindy Waters, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Mike Muscala, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Jay Will, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Kenneth Williams, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to dunk.
We say this is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
Cracklin Oat Bran?
Have you had Cracklin Oat Bran?
No,
No. Okay.
but it's healthy.
Are you a big oat brand guy?
I'm a big Oat Bran guy.
Okay.
I think I would switch it with Fruity Pebbles.
Okay, eat faster. Don't put as much in the bowl.
If you have a gallon of milk, I can also take home.
You don't have milk at home?
One cinnamon toast.
Okay.
Crunch.
Yeah. Cereal is great. Yeah.
Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me, as always, on Wednesdays, my good friend Alex Speers. Alex, what's up?
Oh, what's up, Andrew?
The Thunder lost a heartbreaker in Miami.
Ugh.
112-111.
Nasty game.
Just
Nasty little game they gave us.
I mean, just the 40 for 40 stat from the free throw line for the Heat tells you everything you need to know about how nasty this game was. 40 free throws. 40.
That stat, you shouldn't be able to look it up. Stat shouldn't let you look it up because by presenting it on the telecast, it makes it seem like you're watching something cool or memorable.
Right.
And actually, it's just letting you know how terrible the thing is that you're watching.
Yeah. It's
That was
know,
they scored 112, so that was roughly like 40% of their points, a little under 40%.
yeah. It's crazy. And I've honestly enjoyed a lot of this season because there's not been a ton of like stoppages. And like I feel like the game has flowed a lot better in the NBA, like in general this year.
In general, yeah.
But like Jimmy Butler getting 23 free throws was just wild. And there were some calls that you're like, yeah, that's questionable. But like Jimmy was just being so physical with this young Thunder team last night. And that's something that this team needs to learn from. They need to get better at. They need to be more physical themselves. It was just like Jimmy, his shot wasn't going in. He was 6 of 17 from the field.
The whole team was the Heat. Anytime they just let the Heat shoot it, they were terrible.
They were 39% from the field. The Thunder were 48% from the field.
Yeah.
And there were several plays that I thought were pivot points. One was the Trey Man foul that ended up being a take foul that ended up being a 6-point shift. Trey had like done great stuff before then. He had hit 2 pull-up jumpers. He got a steal, and you're like, oh man, this is awesome. And he's dribbling the ball, and then Jimmy comes and steals the ball.
But wasn't that called on Eugene? Because Eugene like lightly pressed his hand on Jimmy's chest.
Yes. Yeah. It was. You're right. It was Eugene, which it's a play on, but it came from the turnover from Trey. Like, I don't know what Trey was doing. I don't know why he dribbles all the way in to dribble all the way out. I don't know what he was doing, but loses the ball. They get the clear path foul.
Yeah, they go to the monitor. Let's figure this one out. That was my least favorite call. I mean, like you said, some of those calls were deserved. Like the Thunder were sloppy at times when it came to foul drawing or foul causing, getting fouls.
Yeah.
But that foul in particular, I just hate it. It's an anti-basketball foul. Like Jimmy would have not only dunked that ball, but he would have been surrounded by Heat players.
It was Oladipo.
It was Oladipo.
Yeah.
He would have dunked it, and he would have been surrounded by Heat players. Like, it did not affect the play at all.
No.
And not only did they stop the game, they had to go to the monitors then and then come back and say, okay, 2 shots and the ball, and then they get the 3-pointer with the foul.
Yeah, it went as it couldn't have gone more poorly. 6 points off of just that one play, and then it felt like things started to shift. And then at the end, Kenrich Williams, and this is, I kind of wondered when this particular issue would rear its head, and it reared its head like right at the end of this game. And this is where like we haven't watched a team that's trying to win games quite yet. And it felt like I mean, obviously they're trying to win this game. And it's not like they haven't been trying to win other games, but just like go with me. You start to understand like issues that the roster has in moments like this, where it's like, oh, like how many people realize that Kenrich Williams is shooting 50% from the free throw line?
I didn't realize until last night.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned it in the Discord, and I was like, oh, let me go look that up. Yeah, 50%. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, interesting.
He goes to the line. He gets fouled in a really weird play. He's fading away. Jamal Cain is just in the wrong spot at the wrong time.
Yeah, he was.
He like fades away onto Jamal Cain's back and ends up getting a foul call when he just like had no clue what was going on around him. He's just like face guarding whoever in the corner, and he gets the foul called on him. And Kenrich goes to the line and misses both in a 1-point game. Like, just make one of them, man. We just made one of them. We're going to OT, and he misses both. And then Jimmy goes to the other end and gets this. I mean, Jalen Williams is not going to fall for the Jimmy Butler pump fake ever again. I promise you that. It will never happen. He will never leave his feet again when Jimmy Butler pump fakes. Jimmy Butler always, every time gets to the basket is going to pump fake. He's going to do it. And if he gets you in the air, he's going to the free throw line. And that happened in the most crucial moment of the game. And then that was it. And they got the record, the NBA record of 40. It should just never happen again, just because it's such a gross game. But 40 out of 40 from the free throw line, and that was all she wrote for OKC.
Yeah, I was looking at other records. So the Suns back in 1990 had 61 made free throws in a single game. I was trying to imagine how. I mean, at least that's let you know that what we saw last night wasn't the worst possible case.
And
it could have been worse somehow.
Left that game just like, all right.
Yeah, but on Kenrich, like at that moment when he shot those free throws, he was shooting 50%. To let you know how few free throws he's been shooting, he is now shooting 46%, dropped 4 percentage points.
What do you take,
just
like
after that one trip
before that?
Yeah, he's averaging like 0.8 per game.
Yeah. He doesn't go to the line. He's usually taking jumpers, or he's like cleaning up the glass, or he's taking an open three. How close is his free throw percentage to his 3-point percentage? I don't have it pulled up.
Very close. In fact, just rearrange a few numbers. 46.2 from the line, 42.6 from three.
Yeah. That's an odd.
That's
one.
Cool.
It's like Bruce Bowen-esque, honestly. Like that's like Bruce Bowen would hit nail corner threes and like couldn't make a free throw to save his life. Like it's not something that's never happened in NBA history.
Yeah.
And I guess you would rather a guy be able to hit threes than free throws, but
I guess
it's just weird.
Yeah. I meant to look up just how often it happens that a team takes more free throws than 3-pointers, because that happened for the Heat last night. And I'm assuming like in the modern NBA, that just does not happen a ton.
I was going to say in the last like 4 years, probably not.
Yeah.
Very often.
But yeah, so that game, like on the one hand, you have to give some credit to Miami, because this is what Miami games look like.
100%.
And this is why I don't enjoy watching Miami most of the time, why I'm not seeking them out on League Pass, because so many of their games end up looking like this. Maybe this was an extreme version because of all the free throws. But that first quarter, the way they were playing Shea on defense,
yeah,
they were like in this zone where the second he did anything, there were 2 guys on him. And then if he was somehow able to either like get even with those 2 guys or get by those 2 guys, Jimmy Butler was playing like free safety and would just like pop out of nowhere at the end and do something else to Shea. So it was always like 3 Heat players on Shea at all times.
Yeah.
And
all 5 players with eyes on him too.
Yeah.
The whole time.
And so it was starting to feel like, the Pelicans game was like a really tough game for Shea.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't even know if he had points after the first quarter. He might have had 2 points after the first quarter. I was just like, oh man, on a national TV stage, like this is what it's going to be like.
What's going on here?
Yeah, that was a bummer. And then he goes out, and all of a sudden you realize
0 of 3, and then was 2 of 3 from the free throw line.
Okay, so yeah, 2 points. He goes out, and all of a sudden you realize, like, oh, Miami doesn't really have a plan outside of Shea. Like, they definitely prepared for Shea, but they didn't really prepare for anything else. All of a sudden, like, Giddey is generating just awesome shots all around the court. Wiggins missed a couple open threes, but Giddey's also, you're starting to see the cutting come out, and they're breaking down the zone, and all of a sudden it's looking really good, and you're like, okay, well, I guess we figured the zone out. And then Shea comes back in, and then he finally starts to get into some type of a groove, although still, even at that point, the shots that he's hitting are tough. The shots that he hit all game were tough. He didn't get a lot of easy shots. He did make 2 threes, which was nice to see.
Yeah.
But I felt like the second, third quarter, Shea started to look really comfortable. And then in the fourth quarter, I felt like it got rough again when Miami seemed to just lock down. And he took that last 3, which it's fine. It's Shea. He can do whatever he wants. But it was...
They needed 1 point.
I know that. Yeah, that was the thing. They needed 1 point. And he's so good at driving. He's so good at drawing fouls.
He leads the league in drives. He finishes like crazy around the rim, like acrobatic, can like get there. He had time.
He had plenty of time.
That's where you feel just like, oh, come on, bro. Like, just drive
especially
it in.
in that game.
Where they're
going to call it.
Everything. Jamal Cain is turned around. He fouled Kendrick Williams with his butt, and they called it. So why not drive in? Get yourself some free throws. Let's end this game properly with a couple free throws.
And listen, if he had made the 3, obviously, great shot, very exciting.
It would have been great. It would have felt like the Wizards game. It would have felt very, very cool. It's like a very cool way to end the game.
And then, of course, he misses the 3, and that's when the refs finally decide to not blow their whistle. And they just don't blow their whistle for like 4 seconds.
They just stood there.
They're just watching them wrestle for the ball, just waiting.
Annoying. That was very, very annoying.
And then they gave us back 0.8 seconds, and nothing happened.
Like, obviously, that's not enough time. And then they swallow their whistle as Mike Muscala tries to get a shooting foul called, but is unsuccessful.
It was a quote-unquote good game because it was a close game at the end.
It was a close game. Yes,
but it was up there, and I might even say it was like number 1 for me. Worst watch of the year.
Oh,
Thunder game.
Not that. I mean,
yeah, I'm
rough,
dead serious, Andrew. It sucked. That was not fun to watch because like the Houston game. Okay, yeah, they get blown out by Houston. That sucks. But at some point, I've already checked out. Like I'm out. I can go on with my night.
Yeah, but that's okay.
This game,
that's why it's worse, is that you're just like, let's get at it. Like I can't even like finish watching this.
No, when it makes you finish watching it.
The loss to Charlotte was really bad.
The loss to Charlotte was bad, but at the same time, like
New Year's Eve against Philly.
Eve?
God, that was just so.
No,
gross.
again, like they got destroyed. Don't care. The Charlotte game was different because they weren't playing that well. In this game, I actually thought for large stretches of the game, they were playing fine. It's just they could not get any flow going because of all the calls. And you look at the end of the game, only one thing had to change, Andrew. One. Yeah. If they had missed one of their 40 free throws, then it would have been a tie game.
Just make a normal amount of free throws. And like Miami doesn't shoot. Normally, they don't shoot a ton of free throws. Which made
aren't they towards the bottom of the league? I'm gonna look it up right now.
I feel like they're towards the bottom of the league in like everything.
This Miami shot up after last night.
This Miami team is like
they are 25th in the league in free throws per game.
Yeah.
I felt like a Blazers fan last night watching that game, wondering what has the league got out for us? Why won't they let us win this game?
It was out of necessity, though. like to play that for Jimmy to play, and it was on Jimmy. I mean, he took 23. He took more than they average, and it was because of just his. Like I have to like tip my hat to him because
No, I'm not tipping any hats,
it was.
and I'm wearing one.
It was impressive. Honestly, it was impressive, and it's something the Thunder need to learn from. You wish the Thunder get the win on national TV. They played well. It was good to see Josh Giddey play well on national TV.
Yeah, he played. He was 18, 15, and 10.
He was amazing. He had some incredible passes, was kind of controlling the offense down the stretch. I thought he was spectacular and didn't hit any threes, but hit a ton of shots around the rim. He looked great. I think that was good. Like everybody knows Shea is good. The opinions on Josh Giddey are all over the place with people. Like some people think he's not good at all. You have like Bill Simmons ranking him like crazy high in his trade value column. Like he just like there's no consensus on Josh Giddey and the kind of player that he is. So it was like good for him to play well on national TV. Same for J-Dub. I thought J-Dub was awesome. Yesterday as well. 12 points, 0 rebounds, which is kind of weird, but 5 assists, 2 steals, 1 of 2 from 3. Only 5 of 9. Like, come on, let's get more than 9 shots for J-Dub. Like we can do this, guys.
Yeah, speaking of Josh Giddey, so 4 minutes left and Thunder down by 2. Josh Giddey makes a shot. Then Shea hits a step back three.
Yeah.
And then Josh Giddey, 2-point shot. Josh Giddey, 2-point shot. Wiggins makes dunks. Josh Giddey assists. So just in the last 4 minutes, he had 3 made field goals and an assist.
Yeah.
And at that point, they were up 111 to 106 with 128 left.
Yeah.
And
they
then
should have won. They should have won the game. But then Miami goes on a 6-0 run to end the game. So
and that's why it was miserable.
That's why it was miserable. But what did you think about the Eugene Omarui start in this game?
I mean, it's one of those things where it's not like there's a ton of options, so I can't really be surprised by anything that Mark does at the center position. But I didn't really see the I don't know.
I mean, they're
doing.
Yeah, I mean, why not start Kenrich? Was my thought. Like,
yeah, that's how they closed it, because we're kind of joking because at the beginning of the fourth quarter there was a lineup that was played that was not ideal. It was not an optimized lineup if you were trying to win a basketball game.
Two-way players out there.
Two-way players. It's like everyone's healthy. Everyone could theoretically play, and we have two-way players on the court at the same time with like Trey, Giddey, and I think it was Wiggins. So it was Eugene and Lindy.
Yeah.
And they actually like did fine. But yeah, they closed that game with what is probably their best 5 right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which was Shea, Giddey, Dort, J-Dub, and Kenrich.
Yeah.
A fun lineup.
Yeah.
And so going to that lineup was like, okay, clearly they're trying to win this game. Like, this is probably our best 5. Although I guess you could say that Muscala would probably need to be in any best 5 since he's like a plus-minus monster. But yeah, starting that game with Eugene, it did raise, I would say, both of my eyebrows, Andrew.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah. I honestly, when I saw the lineup and tweeted it, I got nervous because I was like, is that right? Are they really? Is like Mark really doing this on national television? Is that like,
yeah? You all got the lineup wrong the game before that. Everyone had to correct themselves.
Yeah, I thought, is this happening again? Like, did this happen again? And no, it was Eugene. Shouts to Eugene. He did what he could out there. I
mean, I'll be honest. I haven't seen a lot of Orlando Robinson. Like, I was only familiar with him because of the game he had against Rudy Gobert.
Right.
And so I was like, well, maybe this guy is just like really good and strong around the basket and they just need like a big body.
No.
But then watching him,
he's just like your run-of-the-mill big dude. Like,
I felt like his butt made the biggest play of the game for him when he fouled Kenrich.
Well, that wasn't even him. That was Jamal Cain.
Oh, that was Jamal Cain. Oh,
Yeah.
never mind.
He's just there's nothing special about Orlando Robinson. Like could he be a backup center in the league? Sure. In the right situation, sure. But like you don't game plan for Orlando Robinson. Like you don't
Maybe you do, Andrew.
you don't
Maybe
make
you
a
do.
lineup for him. And I don't know. And if you do, like
So Mark was lying to us about Bays, right? Because I don't. Who asked the question? Somebody asked the question
it
about
was Joe. It was Joe.
Joe asked him a question about Bays a few days ago,
Yeah.
and my takeaway from that was, oh, Bays is still in the rotation. You know, we're always rotating guys in and out. His time is going to come around. It has not come around since that interview.
No.
And for him not to play in that game, again, starting a two-way player over him, and it's not like Eugene is so amazing in his minutes that you're like, oh, well, obviously this is why Eugene is playing over Bays.
Right. Yeah.
It's not like he's so incredible.
Not to make the climb up the second mountain.
And so that I mean, maybe I will be proven wrong. Maybe Mark will eventually play Bays again at some point this season. But each of these games, as they keep stacking up on one another, and you just see who he's playing over Bays, you start to really wonder, like, are we ever going to see Bays in a Thunder uniform on a basketball court again?
Yeah. It's like, it may be like, man, well, he was going to get back in the rotation on February 10th, but, you know, it just didn't happen. You know, he got traded instead. Like, that's what we had on the schedule. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's obvious. Like, sure, like maybe he does get back in the rotation. Maybe he's in the game in the rotation the next game. Sure. It's just blatantly obvious though that he's not going to be on the Thunder. Like it's just blatantly obvious. The guys, listen, sure, he may get back in the rotation, but what that means, if you are in and out of the rotation, what that means is we're not really sure about you, because the guys that stay in the rotation are the guys that you know are going to make it to round 2 of all of this. Shea, Giddey, J-Dub, Dort, like all those guys stay in the rotation no matter what.
Yeah.
And like we all like Aaron Wiggins. Are we positive Aaron Wiggins is going to make it to like the next, like after this draft and the next draft? Are we positive Aaron Wiggins is going to be on the team? I'm not positive that he's going to be on the team. And he's also in and out of the rotation. Like that's fine. Even like Trey Mann, when Trey is healthy and he's with the team, he plays. Even though he only played 7 minutes last night, like he plays. So like the Bazley thing continues to be weird. He's played a ton of minutes in the past 2 seasons, and then this season he's been in and out. I think it's mostly just because like J-Dub is like really good and like obviously a player that they want to invest a lot of resources in. And I think that Bazley is just at the point where they know what he is. He doesn't fit with the team, and that's okay. He just is going to have to move on. And the reason that he's not anywhere else is that I don't think people are calling a ton about Bazley. I mean, I just don't think that he has a ton to offer to somebody else. I think he could be successful with another team, but I think it's going to be closer to the trade deadline that they move on from him, would be my guess.
But yeah, on the question of Omarui, like I personally would just rather see J Will. Even if I know that J Will hasn't been great in his minutes, even if that would have made them lose last night by 10 points instead of losing by 1 point, I would just rather see J Will get those 16 minutes than Eugene, who I have no real faith is going to be on this roster next year. Whereas I do think with J Will, I mean, who knows? He might not be, but I feel like there's a better chance just because they drafted him high in the second round. I think his first 2 years are guaranteed, maybe.
That's right.
Yeah, I would rather see J Will, even knowing all of J Will's faults. Man, I'm looking at this Heat roster. We didn't even mention Dwayne Dedman came in, played an amazing 3 minutes. Mason 5 minutes. Sorry, excuse me, 5 minutes, and then completely unclear to me to this point. I've watched the video. I don't know why he got a technical because it looked like he was arguing with his own coach, and then somehow got a technical or something and started walking back. And that's when he hit the chair and the Theragun. There was a Theragun on the chair, went perfectly flying onto the court, and they got a technical for that. Was that why he got ejected?
Yeah, he got ejected.
Like Theragun?
Yes. It looked like I thought like a fan threw it or something. I didn't know what was going on.
And I couldn't tell if he threw it or if he like hit a chair perfectly where it catapulted the Theragun, which I would prefer that.
I believe that's what happened.
Okay, because
there's
that's
video
cool.
footage of him taking a Theragun and chunking it on.
Right. Yeah.
If he did that, he would be suspended for like 10 games probably.
Right. It seemed like a total accident, but it was very funny that it had this like
really
arc onto the
well,
court.
and also like the fact that it didn't hit anybody is like
that
could have really hurt somebody. If that like clocked somebody in the back of the head, like if Jamal Cain was out there, it would have for sure hit Jamal Cain in the back of the head just because he doesn't know what's going on out there. If you get hit in the back of the head with one of those, like you're probably not okay.
Unless it's turned on, and then maybe it would be therapeutic. It would hit the perfect spot.
Oh, feels great. Yeah.
Do you have one of those? I know there's like a bunch of different brands now.
I don't have one. Do you have one?
No, my friends have one, and I just use it when I go over their house.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean
they're fun.
Be a
they
nice.
Feel good.
Nice
but yeah, because he went out, because he was ejected, they played 7 guys last night, and one of them, I'm embarrassed. I'm slightly embarrassed that I don't like know all of these guys by heart.
Yeah.
Haywood Highsmith.
Yeah, man.
Was a guy who played. He went to Wheeling Jesuit. That was the college he went to.
G League legend.
26 years old.
Yeah. He's been fighting for years to get this opportunity.
Well, hey, all these guys got a national TV opportunity last night and showed the world how good they are at free throws. So congrats to them.
It's true. Except for Orlando Robinson and Highsmith didn't shoot a free throw. That's probably honestly what saved them. What's that?
Yeah, can you imagine being the one guy, especially if you're like one of these guys, like it's the end of the rotation guy, who comes out and ruins that? Who cares? But I'm sure their fans are pretty psyched about it today. 40 free throws. Wahoo!
Yeah, it's quite.
Oh my gosh, Thunder shot 14 of 21 from the line.
I know. Yeah, it's not great. Kenrich missed both of his. Shea missed one.
Dort missed 2.
J-Dub missed 1. Lindy
miserable
missed 1.
game.
Yeah,
miserable game. But at least it wasn't a blowout because it was a national TV game, and we saw that the dunker spot guys, the no dunks guys, were all doing playbacks of it.
Yep.
Which I would have liked to known what they were talking about the whole game because it was just so many fouls. But at least they got an entertaining end with the Thunder going up and then Miami coming back.
Yeah.
The Thunder put on a
come away positive about the Thunder.
Yeah. And I never finished the Shea conversation, but for everything that happened, especially at the beginning of that game with how they were defending him, for him to end up with 26 points on 50% shooting, that's pretty impressive. Even though I don't think it was his best game overall, he still got to the line 7 times. He still hit 2 3-pointers. He still shot 50%, so still good efficiency. He did have 6 turnovers, which makes sense in that game. But yeah, to get to 26 points on efficient shooting against that defense was still impressive. It's not like he laid a total egg on national TV.
Yeah, no, he didn't. Yeah, both teams turned the ball over a lot. Thunder had 18, the Heat had 19. And that's like both teams forced a lot of turnovers too. So, okay, let's take a quick break. Then after that, let's check in on this team halfway through the season. We'll be right back. All right, Al. 41 games for the Thunder have passed.
Yeah.
18 and 23. Better than I would have expected at this point. They are 18th in net rating. They're 12th in defense. And they are 20th in offense. Those are their just that's like a quick overview of who they've been so far. How are you feeling about this team and the direction they're going 41 games in?
Terrible. What did you say that their defense was?
12th.
12th. Okay. I was just comparing it to Cleaning the Glass because Cleaning the Glass for some reason always has their defense lower. And when I think about what Cleaning the Glass does, which is wipe out garbage time, I'm just like, why would that affect their defense so much? Because one, they're not in a lot of garbage time games.
No,
and also that would mean that their defense is super good in garbage time because their overall defense is always lower on Cleaning the Glass than it is on like NBA.com.
they could have a different formula too.
Yeah.
Like I know that Basketball Reference has a different one than NBA.com, which is what I'm using, but whatever. I don't know.
So the reason I was excited about last night's game was because if we win that game,
Yeah.
that's 4 of the last 5
Yeah.
with wins over Boston, Washington, Dallas, Miami, all teams that are trying to make the playoffs. Although, yes, Dallas without Luka, Miami without everyone except Jimmy. I think we would have come on here today and we would already be picking who do we want to play in the playoffs? who do we want to see in that first playing game? What would be our dream scenario?
Playing game.
So I was very hyped for that potential Wednesday pod.
Phoenix.
And instead, that game happens, and now I'm sitting here looking at this stretch of games like, oh my gosh, it's probably over. Like that felt like a turning point game. Because if they had won that game, even if they had lost like a couple of these next ones on the road,
yeah,
you still would have been holding on because 19 wins is tied with like most of the teams that are right around there right now.
Lakers, Blazers
have 19. But now you look at this upcoming schedule at Philadelphia, at Chicago, at Brooklyn without KD, back home for Indiana, at the Kings, at Denver, who's playing very well.
Yeah.
Like they legitimately could go 1-5 in that stretch. And it's just by the time we get to the end of January, we're completely switched off our brains. You know, the choose dumb brain has died.
Yeah.
That's why I really wanted them win last night just to extend this a little bit longer. This upcoming stretch just looks so tough. In terms of like overall feelings about the season, it's been a very entertaining season.
Yeah.
They've played in a lot of entertaining games.
Yeah.
I think Shea and Giddey playing together we're finally starting to see some real chemistry, synergy with those two on the court, especially in the last couple weeks. That is exciting. I think the Thunder clearly got a great pick in J-Dub.
Clearly.
And not only did they get a great pick, but you go back and look at that draft, and there just aren't too many guys after J-Dub that I'm super excited about. Like, I think AJ Griffin's had a very nice year. Jalen Duren, I think, is going to be good as well. Beyond those two guys, there's not like a ton of guys in that draft who I like wish they would have taken.
Yeah.
So like I'm feeling good about how they used their assets in that. Obviously, Usman is like a whole different thing.
Sure. But even Usman, is there like somebody that you're like, man, they really should have taken so and so instead of Usman J?
Again, I still like AJ Griffin, but it's like him. It's like that's the only guy. There's no one in the rest of that draft where I'm just like really kicking myself. I don't know why I'd be kicking myself. I didn't do it. But so yeah, I actually feel like okay with how they drafted right now. I would love for Usman to come back. What do you remember his time schedule?
I can look it up, but I mean he's gonna come back.
Okay,
this season.
Good. Yeah, I think there's been a lot of quality development on this team through the first half of the season while being competitive in a league where it doesn't feel like there's any off games anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in the case of OKC. It's like every bad team, you should kind of assume that they're going to lose. And then every good team, you should assume that somebody's going to be out and the Thunder are going to be super competitive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very happy with where the season is at this point. I think this season really hasn't satisfied like either extreme of Thunder fan.
Yeah.
You know, if you're someone who really wants this team to push for the play-in, a game like last night is devastating because if they win that game, they're right there with all those other teams.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're a Thunder fan who's more interested in optimizing their draft pick, you can't be that excited either because, they already have 18 wins. And I think back to 2 years ago, because that was the worst basketball we watched over this stretch. The spring of 2 years ago when it was heavy doses of Teo, heavy doses of rookie Poku.
Yeah.
Who else was playing on the team at that time? That was a bad stretch.
That was a brutal year. It was also the bubble year. So like you couldn't
like Jalen Horde. That was when he was around.
Gabby Deck came that season.
Oh, Gabby Deck, yeah. Oh
the
man.
end of it.
I'm going to look up a random.
Charlie Brown Jr. played a lot.
Yes, Charlie Brown Jr. Tony Bradley, Josh Hall, Moses Brown, Isaiah Roby, Bays, of course.
Yeah, Josh Hall trick y'all, man. A lot of people thought Josh Hall was something.
My point was that as bad as that was, that team, which was without Shea, and obviously no Giddey at that point, they hadn't drafted him, they still won 3 games. They still won 3 games as that version. It's not like they lost every single game. So if you're a Thunder fan thinking about draft positioning, you start looking ahead like, okay, what levers could they pull and what could their record realistically be? It's hard to see a scenario where this team wins fewer than like 26 games. Like, are they really going to win fewer than 8 games the rest of the season?
No.
I can't imagine that scenario.
They're going to win 30+ games.
That's how I feel as well.
Yeah.
So
that team lost 14 in a row, by the way.
They did, but they still won 3. Give them their credit.
And then they beat Boston. They beat Boston 119 to 115. And Boston, Jaylen Brown, Smart, Evan Fournier. So there was no Tatum. But they still beat Boston with Jaylen Brown. And the Thunder starting lineup was Teo, Moses Brown, Poku, Dort, Darius Baisley.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
It's crazy. All right, sorry.
Yeah, when you go back and look at the end of it, because remember they were tied with Cleveland that year, I believe, at the end of the day.
Yep. They won the coin, and they won the coin.
And they won the coin toss,
but lost
the move up.
Yep.
Anywho, my point was that I think we're going to come to the end of this year, and unless you are really interested in development, which we all should be, and I think everyone is to some extent.
Oh, have. I mean, everybody. We all have to agree on that, right?
Well, yes, but I'm saying that if you're looking back at the season based purely on like outcomes that everyone agrees on, meaning like what their record was at the end of the season, what their draft position was, or them being in the play-in, I don't think anyone's going to be necessarily satisfied with where the season ends up in that respect.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yes.
They're probably going to be around, I mean, who knows, man? They could be around like the 10th pick. They could be around the 8th to 10th pick. And
yeah, I don't think they'll be as I think that there will be I don't think they'll be that good. I think they'll be closer to like 7.
Closer to 7.
But it's that's where they are today. You know, they would need they need Toronto to like make a decision, like trade Van Vliet at the deadline, and then Chicago as well, and then the Lakers and Portland. Those are in Utah as well. Like they need Utah to like completely fall off, which is possible.
It's possible. That was a big win last night for Utah, and the way they did it against Cleveland was very impressive.
That felt big. And just like the Thunder loss felt big, that win felt big. If it were flip-flopped and it was the Thunder winning and Utah losing,
we'd be within like a half game of them. Yeah,
today you would feel like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, for sure. Like they're gonna pass Utah definitely in the standings.
Yeah, maybe you're right, because looking at the standings, really the only team that you feel like, oh, they could definitely pass us would be Toronto if they make a big move. Because Lakers, no incentive. Bulls, really no incentive. And they've been playing better as of late. Blazers, really no incentive. Hawks, no incentive. Although I guess the Hawks could convince themselves at some point, but they really shouldn't. They're
not going to, though.
They're not going to.
Yeah, they won't.
Jazz, obviously, could be that team, which is why they're them winning, continuing to win is so important. Minnesota, no incentive. And then Golden State at this point, now they have Steph back. They're obviously not thinking about that. So really it's just Toronto and Utah that you worry about. And so maybe it does end up being the 7th or 8th. And in terms of teams that we could pass, Washington's just right behind us.
Washington for sure could pass them
at 6.
Yeah.
They lost 3 in a row, and Bradley Beal has still not come back.
Yeah.
And
Beal will be back soon, though. It was not like a
right. It was not season ending.
He's coming back probably within the week.
Yeah. If this all ends up with OKC being in the 6th spot, I think you have to say that's a win. And I didn't even mention Orlando, who beat Portland last night.
Yeah.
And is now up to 16 wins. Like, who knows? Like, maybe the Thunder really could get to the 5th spot. It just feels like that's like this team's too good to really be bad enough to get to that point. But who knows? Man, the Blazers. So the Blazers they're 3-9 in their last 12. 3-9. And their 3 wins are over Houston, Charlotte, and Detroit.
It's not good.
They are in a world of hurt right now, Andrew.
Yeah.
And I don't exactly know what the plan should be.
What would you do?
Well, they're never trading Dame unless Dame asks out. And Dame is probably never going to ask out. Yeah. I mean, maybe if this continues, like something would happen there.
Yeah.
Their issues, I was going back through their box scores. They've had a ton of issues with turnovers, and they've also just haven't shot the ball well in forever.
Yeah.
They've been shooting like 30% or worse from the 3-point line in like 8 straight games or something outside of their one win.
You just have to believe that will turn, at some point.
You have to, because I mean, the whole idea was that their schedule was turning and it was going to be easy. I mean, their last 4 games, Timberwolves, Pacers, Raptors, Magic, like nothing there like scares you. You should be able to win some of those games. They were 0-4.
You should be 500. Yeah.
Yeah.
After those games.
So they're a mess. Considering like where we were thinking this team was at the beginning of the year, I feel like we were pretty spot on. Like maybe it's felt different now that we're living through it.
Yeah.
But the idea that they were probably going to be somewhere between the 6th and 8th pick, which was kind of what we were talking about. This is what that would look like. And it's one of those things that can trick you because, they win that game last night and all of a sudden we have to talk about the play-in because they'd be so close to it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's probably where they'll end up. I still have like, I wouldn't say hope, but I still have like a belief that this team could go on like a little run though. That this isn't the last time we're talking about their play-in contention.
I don't think so either. I think this road trip is tough. They just have not played well on the road. They have not.
They're 5-14 on the road.
Yeah.
Which even like the Lakers 9-14.
Yeah.
And the Raptors are 5-13 as well. They've been very good at home. But yeah, this road heavy stretch makes you think, okay, we could get to the end of this and they could be, 19-28 or something.
It's possible. I don't think they will because they'll just surprise. I think it's going to be like the same like stop and start thing that we've had all season where they just have like these little mini runs and then like they fall back and then another
Which
mini
is
run.
Probably how, and that's probably the experience of getting to like 30 to 32 wins.
Yeah. That's the inconsistency of a young team. Like that's just the way that this is. Like they have talent and it just is more obvious to me that like this is the last year of the like
definitely
getting a top pick. Like they will not be able to hold this team back any longer, and I don't think they necessarily want to. I don't think they necessarily want to hold this current team back. But like they're not going to go like I had people in my mentions like they got to go get a big guy. They got to go sign a big. Like, they're not going to do that. They're going to play Eugene. They're going to play Jay Will. They're going to do their thing without getting a big, which is like how you might get the 6th pick in this draft. And if you get the 6th pick in this draft, like you're gonna have a chance to draft somebody good. Like the Asar Thompson might be there, and like I don't know, I'd feel pretty awesome if they drafted a guy like that. Or Anthony Black might be there at 6, or Brandon Miller might be there at 6. And you bring that guy onto this team, man, I'm feeling really good. But if you're like the 10th pick and you're like, I don't know, like I think they could find somebody good. Like obviously they found if you got a player the caliber of J-Dub at 10, like you'd feel awesome.
Yeah, the weird thing about this draft, and we kind of talked about it with Sam Vecini, is that once you get past Wembanyama and Scoot, that next tier is potentially, like 6 to 8 guys. And maybe that shakes out by the end of the season where we don't feel like that tier is so big. But right now, it does kind of feel like whether they're pick 6 or whether they're pick 10, like there's going to be a guy that you're excited about who is in that next tier.
Yeah.
Maybe that changes by the time we get to the draft and we're like, no, there's a second tier and it's these 3 guys. But for right now, the risk of like missing out, because in other drafts we felt like, okay, you get to pick 4 and there's a massive drop off.
Yeah.
And doesn't mean that is actually the case. Sometimes
Right.
we've been wrong about that, but it doesn't feel that way this year. So I don't know. I'm not as stressed out as I've been in the past. I'm looking back, Andrew, franchise index for the Thunder, realizing the reason this season feels so weird is because it's never happened. They've always won more than 44 games or fewer than 24 games. They've never had a season between 25 and 43 wins in their entire existence in OKC. They've never actually been in the quote unquote middle as the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah.
And that is why the experience of this season is so weird. Like in every other season, we've either known they're really bad or we've known they're good or at least trying to be really good.
Yeah.
And this season is one of those like just kind of random middle seasons that I feel like Kings fans have experienced for years on end.
Sure. And it makes me like a little bit more I think if Chet was playing this year, I think they'd be in the play-in.
I feel that way too. I mean, even if some people are want to go out there and say like they would have 10 more wins if they had Chet. I don't think that's true. Let's just say 3. Let's say 3 more wins. They could have 3 more wins this.
They would have won last night if they had Chet.
So, and that would get them 21 wins, and they're right there with everyone.
Yeah, I think they would make it because honestly, like they're a semi-competent big away from being in the play-in.
And what's so crazy is 21 wins. That's how many wins the Kings have. They're the 5th seed. That's a 3-win difference between OKC where they are right now.
Yes, you get 3 more wins, you throw yourself in the mix. And it's possible they have more. It's possible that like the Thunder are like the story, of this season if Chet plays.
We could have been the darlings, Andrew.
I think they might be that next year though. Like if you just hang on.
So.
I think that they could be that.
I don't know if I can hold on.
And you add Chet and you add another draft pick and you're feeling pretty good, and they have cap space. They're not going to sign anybody. One, they don't have a roster spot. Two, like they couldn't get anybody even if they wanted to. So it's like whatever.
And I think the big thing for the Thunder is there are teams, not naming any names, there are teams that need to get Wembanyama or Scoot to have any chance to significantly improve next season. Whereas in the case of the Thunder, they don't necessarily. Obviously, it'd be awesome if they got Wembanyama.
Yeah,
it would be amazing.
Yeah,
but they don't need to get Wembanyama to improve next season.
Yeah,
they don't need that in the way that
Spurs.
the Rockets need that.
Yeah,
in the way that like Detroit needs that. Charlotte needs those guys. Like if they go out there and they just get whoever it is, Keontae George, like they're going to be really bad again.
Yeah. Yeah, they will be, without a doubt. Even if they get Wembanyama. If the Rockets got Wembanyama, cool. They're still probably going to be 6 in the reverse standings.
Don't you think they'd probably make a coaching change this summer? Fresh start. recenter everything around Wembanyama.
They probably ask his representatives who you want to coach the team.
Yeah.
Like honestly, they might. Yeah, I think. I mean, obviously, things have to change in Houston. It's a disaster. And even though, like, listen, we as Thunder observers want the Houston Rockets to suffer. Like that's what we want, right? Like even objectively, people that have no rooting interest either way, you talk to them about Houston, and it's like, yeah, this is an absolute disaster. So like this is not just us like hating Houston. Like this is a
But I also think
actual disaster.
the thing I think is so interesting about Houston is if you remove the jerseys and you remove the team and you were just describing the way the team was going about their rebuild,
Yeah.
which would you have chosen a few years ago? Because at the beginning of this, I bet we would have chosen the description of what Houston is doing.
Yeah, I think so. I just think that they haven't gotten lucky enough, I guess.
Well, I don't even think it's that. I think there is an element to this, which is like me coming to the realization that focusing everything on being bad,
Mm-hmm.
really, that seems to be number one priority. I mean, their own vet is saying that there's been no improvement since the start.
They're
of the
doing
season.
great. They're doing great when it comes to that.
They are, but there's a part of me now that is starting to like understand there are some downsides. As much as we tried to downplay it at the beginning of all of this,
Yeah.
and maybe I'll be proven wrong. You know, maybe they get Wembanyama and then they just kind of like snapping your fingers and they look like a normal functional team. They get a different coach in there, and all of a sudden, you know, things look fine.
I don't think so. Sure.
Yeah, but yeah, I am like changing my tune a little bit. I think this whole process has showed me that there are so many things that go on that we're really not privy to within an organization.
Yeah.
That matter as much as all of the objective things that we can see as fans.
Yeah.
And that trying to distill a plan down to something as simple as just sit Shea, like just don't play him. Like there's so much that goes into all of these decisions that we don't really know about. And we kind of had at least I did. I had a black and white view of this whole rebuilding process at the beginning, where it was like, the only thing that matters is the value of your own pick, because that's the only thing you have control over. And you need to maximize the value of that pick every single year to get as many hits as possible. I don't feel that same way anymore. Like if we redo this rebuild in a decade or whenever it is, I don't think I will have the same opinions that I had at the beginning of this rebuild.
Yeah, there are things that you can see that matter. Like having some kind of tone setter in the locker room really matters. The coaching staff has been really, really good. And then just like drafting a player type that not only does the player type fit, but like the personality of the player has to fit too. And like I think that we all kind of like collectively rolled our eyes whenever Sam said like we draft people. He said that after the Giddey draft.
Yeah.
They all got up on stage and like Sam said that and we're like, come on, bro. That's great. You draft nice people. It's great. But like it really does matter because you watch last night and like the TNT broadcast couldn't stop talking about how unselfish the team was with regards to like the way that they played.
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes with that everybody can put the ball on the deck and make a play, which is what the Thunder want. And it also comes down to like these are like really good character guys, and none of them really care that much about their own numbers. Like they care about winning more than that, and they're not old enough to be able to win games. Like even if like this is the roster in 2 years, like yeah, they're like drumming Miami by 10 because Miami doesn't have their guys in 2 years. But it just takes time. But yeah, I think the process that the Thunder have had has been very good. You feel really good about the trajectory. And like a lot of their blue chip picks that are not their own, are still incoming. And like you feel good about the roster today. You feel good about adding Chet. You feel good about adding, if you can get somebody in the top 8, like you feel really good about that as well. And then it's like, man, the 24 selections that they have, like there could be some really interesting picks there. And what do they do with those? Like, do they make a trade? With some of those, you think that they probably would, because I don't know that they're going to want to bring in 4 first rounders in 24. So, like, do you consolidate the picks on draft night? Do you kick the can down the road for more draft picks in the future? Like, what do you do with those? I think is like a really, really interesting like subplot to next year. And then adding Chet, who I don't know, like he's a special type of player that you look at what the Thunder need, like they need rim protection, like check. They need another shot creator, check. They need somebody that the defense cares about, check. That to me is a very interesting piece to bring in. And I don't know, man, like they've done a really good job up to this point. And like my hope for the rest of the season is that they do end up at like 6 in the reverse standings, which is totally possible. Even winning 30 games, like I think you could end up at 6, just because the number of teams that are trying to lose kind of stops.
Isn't that weird though? I mean, that was the whole idea of this season, was that you have a generational prospect and there's going to be so many more teams fighting for draft position, and it just hasn't come to fruition yet.
Yeah.
And even this far, I mean, we're halfway into the season and I still don't feel like it's coming to fruition. I keep waiting. Like, how is it only 5 teams that like are really trying to lose?
And honestly, like
and is it even
like
5?
Orlando's won 10 out of their last 16, I think.
Yeah, so it's really the Spurs, Rockets, Hornets, and Pistons.
Yeah, I mean,
why are there not more teams?
I don't know. Some of it could just be, I mean, I don't know. The flattened lottery odds do make this really interesting, because like you just like sim on Tankathon like a couple times, and it's like, gosh, I just did one, and like Houston, Detroit, and San Antonio are 4, 5, 6.
That's the dream. I don't even care who jumped. That's the
Orlando's 3, Charlotte's 2, Toronto's 1. The Thunder fell to 8.
Okay, well, that's not the dream. I take that back.
Not the dream, but like
close that browser.
But like that could happen. Like that could happen. I just hit it again. Toronto number 1, San Antonio 2, Charlotte 3, Orlando 4, Houston 5, Detroit 6, Washington 7, Thunder 8.
Andrew, we have a paid question in the comments.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this is from Blue Diamond Gem. Paid $2 to get this question asked.
Is his avatar, is that Mortal Kombat? Is that
I believe so. Get over here.
Get over here.
Would Presti draft Chet over Paolo Banchero? I mean, I can't get into the mind of Sam Presti, but I think the answer is yes. I think the answer is yes.
But I think the answer is also yes, but I think that the gap between Chet and Banchero is smaller than the gap between like Chet and Jabari, who Jabari was also being talked about as like a number 1 pick. I think Banchero fits more in the Thunder mold than Jabari in retrospect.
Without a doubt. The ball handling, the decision making.
Yeah.
Yes. It's just the defense is the thing that I question. Can Paolo hold up defensively is a question where like I don't think you're really asking that of Chet, except for just in like specific matchups where like you just have like a bully ball situation, which is like more and more not the way the NBA is.
Yeah.
But I think the answer is absolutely yes. That Chet is like the ultimate like kind of guy that you would want on this team. And hopefully it ends up this year. I don't think this year is like a waste for Chet. It really sucks that we don't get to watch him, but I think there's a chance that like he gets a chance to get stronger in his upper body. I mean, all he's doing is shooting jumpers all year. Like that's what he's been doing all year. That's what he's been able to do. He's been taking a lot of like one-legged jumpers because he can't put pressure on that one foot. I mean, he's doing one-legged, turnaround jumpers for an entire year. Like you would hope that would like pay some like dividends to the team.
Yeah.
As long as he can stay healthy. And then like the defense stuff, the finishing around the basket, as much as this team like passes and cuts and like finds guys,
They got to get some oops, Andrew. They're not a great.
they're going to get some oops. We're going to see some oops from Giddey to him, and the fact that we got to see the Giddey Chet duo in summer league. We haven't seen SGA Chet in one possession yet. Just like think about Chet setting a screen for SGA and like Shea getting to go downhill. You find Chet for an easy pick and pop. You find Chet at the basket, or Shea just has a much easier path to the basket. Because think about who's been setting the screens for him so far this season. It's like Poku and guys that, like, no offense to any of these guys, but the defense just largely doesn't care.
Yeah.
They just all care about Shea. And like keeping Shea from getting to the hoop and keeping Shea from getting to his spots.
And to be clear, like Paolo would be awesome on this team. And I am thankful that that choice wasn't there, that we don't have to actually think about this as a hypothetical, because there was never an opportunity.
That Houston doesn't have him.
Oh my gosh. If he had fallen to 3 and Houston got him, that would have been tough.
We would not
especially
be any of these celebratory tweets from Rockets fans at all,
Yeah, if we had passed on Paulo and he had fallen to 3 and gone to Houston, that would have been
gets hurt, and you're like, oh, boy.
That would have been truly the worst case scenario. So the way it worked out, I'm fine with it. Like Paulo's great. He would have been great on the Thunder. I mean,
I think it would have been awesome.
He would have had I think a similar effect to what we're talking about with Chet, where like they're a better team if Paulo's on this team. He would have probably had to play some center though.
Yeah. He would have been our center. For sure, he would have been our center this year. There's no question. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, overall, just like to wrap this up, the way this Thunder team has played is so encouraging. The progress of Shea is obviously like the number one thing on the list. It's like Shea's making the All-Star team. Shea's going to be in Utah, which is really cool. Josh Giddey has made significant progress as a shooter, as just like a player that understands how to play with Shea. Like he's already made that progress, and that's pretty incredible that he's been able to do that so far, where like a lot of the sophomores have not made progress this year. I mean, you look at Scotty Barnes, and like he's shooting worse in almost every way. The only thing you could say he's made progress in is playmaking, but they've really put him in a position to play make a lot more than last year. And then like teams are kind of leaving him alone, like Ben Simmons style out there. And you just kind of wonder if he can make that next leap. And there's like even been questions about his work ethic, which I don't know if that's fair or not. But like you have that going on. But Giddey's made a jump. He's made a leap. And then like J-Dub has obviously been great for them. Lou Dort is kind of who he is, and you feel like it maybe even offensively he's taken a step back some, but you still feel good about his corner 3, and like they can box him into that moving forward. Like, okay, Lou, you're a transition player, and you're a corner 3-point shooter, and you're our best defender, and like that's what you are.
Yeah, because I was thinking last night as I was watching that game. Okay, now that Baze is out of the rotation, who would you say is the worst decision maker on the team?
It's probably Dort.
I think it's Dort as well.
Or I mean, if Eugene is a part of it, maybe it's Eugene.
Maybe it's Eugene.
It's probably is Eugene over Dort, but the guy that plays the most minutes is probably Lou Dort. And then like you have all your other like periphery, like fun things. Is like Isaiah Joe has been really fun for OKC. And Aaron Wiggins is really fun for OKC. There's a lot to like here. And then like Jang, when he did play, like showed flashes that you're like, oh, okay. Like he's a giant and he was starting to shoot the ball really well. And hopefully he can come back and play well. And then Poku was playing really well until he broke his leg. Like it's been a fun season. Like there's just been a lot to get excited about. But like all the periphery stuff, like thrown to the side, like maybe none of that matters in the long-term future of this team. But just the fact that like Shea, J-Dub, Giddey.
That's what I was going to say. Those three is really all that matters right now, because those are guys who you feel like are going to be top line Thunder players in the future.
Yeah.
And you add Chet into that. Now we're already at 4. And then you hope whoever they get in this draft can be that 5th piece, not necessarily as the 5th starter or anything, but just as the 5th guy that you feel super confident in.
Yeah. And then like Kenrich or Trey Man or like somebody else is going to work as well. And then honestly, with like the first Thunder team, it was like they had like 4 guys that were amazing. And then they just had to go like find the rest, and so if they can have these 4 or 5 guys really work out, like they have a lot more picks coming their way. They also don't have Kevin Durant. But like I feel at least confident that like Shea is like going to be and Russell was amazing, but like I think Shea's going to have like a Russell Westbrook type career. Like I think that he could be that good of a player. I don't know that he can be Durant level, but like he can be Westbrook Harden level good in this NBA. And then if you just have other guys around him to fit, like Harden was on title contending teams. They never got there because they had to face that Warrior squad. But this Thunder team could get there and be really, really good. So, all right. Anything else before we go, Al?
No, next game at the 76ers.
Yeah.
Feels like a loss, but we'll see.
We'll see. They always surprise us. Who knows? The Sixers embarrass the Thunder on New Year's Eve. So either they'll do that again or maybe the Thunder will, have something up their sleeve. So thanks so much for listening. Hope you guys are doing great. We will talk to you guys again on Friday.